Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Rudy with Alpha Investments. And today I've been doing a lot of thinking about a lot of different things. And I think it all comes down to this. Typically, the largest expense associated with running and managing a mutual fund is what? A, the management fee, B, the custodial fee, C, brokerage fees, or D, legal fees, or E, nobody the fuck knows because nobody can really read or understand a prospectus, and amateurs are too stupid to ask questions. Actual question in the Series 7 Brokers book, book number 4 of 10. So, going back in time a little bit, everybody. Today we're going to talk about Theros, born of the gamble, and the journey that we all ended up going through that nobody remembers, nobody talks about, and nobody gives a shit about. Because again, Magic players are so obsessed with a 80 to 180 mile an hour hype train that nobody even gives a shit. Nobody thinks about, nobody realizes what comes and goes. Nobody gives respect and credit to the blocks that have come and gone, that we just don't talk about, that we forget. And unfortunately, the player base seems to be churned so hard. I mean, just flipping churned. Like, just, and then half the people just spill out the bottom of the pot, and we bring in fresh blood. And a lot of people don't actually remember what that feel was when the block came out. What was actually popular? What actually happened? And for some reason, I had a good amount of questions today, recently, about the Theros, the Born of the Gambles, and journey. And I've been really thinking about this for a little while. I haven't said anything in any of my videos. I really wanted to research a little bit, but I think it's time to present my findings so far and my opinion about it. I think there's a clear-cut winner. It's been a while. Some time has gone by. I believe the Theros Block was 2014. Hopefully I'm right or wrong. You guys, I'm sure, will correct me 100 times. But you know, I thought Theros was going to be the big daddy. I thought it was going to be the big dog. When I was buying booster boxes, I bought the most Theros boxes to sit on. And boy, was I wrong. Theros was the highest print run, the most opened, and the most enjoyed. Of course, Thought and Seas and all. I mean, the mechanics and the devotion and the block, and it was cool. I liked it. The Greek theme alone, when they announced the Greek theme for a Magic block, that alone sold everything. They could have put every card in the set, every card, narwhals, and it was still would have sold. The fact that they announced, we're going to make a Greek-themed set. I mean, people were just chucking money at their faces. People had paper cuts from money on their face. You can walk around. I went to Walmart to buy Cantaloupe, and I saw kids with paper cuts on their face, and I was like, fucking Magic player right there. That's what it was like. It was crazy. So, now that it's come and gone, nobody cares, nobody talks about it. It's another ghost of Magic's past. What's really funny is from what I recall, and this could have just been here in Florida, but from what I recall, Journey into Nyx was the most hated, underappreciated, just nobody gave a flying flip. I only opened 100 boxes. And at the time when, Theros would be a 300-400 box opening with maybe even a 200 box restock opening, Born of the Gamble scared the crap out of me. Everybody knew that was going to be weak from the beginning. The only thing you had was a damn Cat Lord that was popular and a few little small things and some few little lands in the land cycle and a couple Greek gods that were cool, but overall, everybody knew the set was weak. But when Nyx came around, I don't know if people were just kind of burned or had a little bit of that negative memory because of what was going on. So maybe because of that, everybody naturally ordered less Nyx boxes, and everybody was just kind of like, oh, shit. I'm sure it's not going to be better. It's the third set in the block, and it's a small set. Double negative. But then again, in math, when you have a double negative, it usually ends up being positive. So to me, I think at this point in time, the clear-cut winner from the Theros Born of the Gamble, and when I took the journey, I think the clear-cut winner of all of that was hands down, I think Journey into Nyx is the clear-cut winner of the block. I never in a million years thought I would ever come to that conclusion for my own opinion. I personally feel the winner of this block is hands down Journey into Nyx. And I'm not talking just because of literally the expected value in the set right now, or just because it was the small set. It was a small one. 35 rares, like 60 commons, 60 uncommons. Very, very small. And then of course, 10, 11 mythics. But the thing was, you're seeing some of the cards starting to get more demand compared to Theros and Born of the Gamble. And, Born of the Gamble is just... I personally think Born of the Gamble is worse than Dragon's Maze. And everybody thinks the worst set in modern times now is Dragon's Maze. But man, let me tell you guys, in my opinion, hands down, Born of the Flippin' Gamble. This thing right here, this is the... I mean, this has more nutritional value than Kraft Mac and Cheese. No, it has more nutritional value than ramen noodle soup. I don't care if it's full of ramen noodles or ramen noodles. The damn thing is... I mean, this thing is useless. These boxes, I mean, I am embarrassed to say that I have 100 of these. Like, I mean, I even tried turning them into a bedspread. Couldn't sleep on it. Smelled funny. These things were just... And I knew it was going to be weak, but I didn't think it would be that bad. I had no idea it would be that bad. I thought for sure Nyx was going to be the questionable ones. I thought for sure Journey to Nyx was like a 50-50 shot, man. I thought for sure this thing was either going to move or just dissolve into the next Dragon's Maze or Nyx. Or Nyx, Born of the Gamble. But the thing was, again, Dragon's Maze has a lot of bizarre-ass cards that are not being reprinted currently. I'm expecting them to be reprinted. Now, depending how hard Wizards beats the crap out of Dragon's Maze with Modern Masters 2017, depending how many hammers they get pounded on, is really going to dictate how much the growth is stunted. But at the end of the day, the Dragon's Maze boxes do contain, on average, remember, 2 Shocklands per box. That alone is floor. That's perfect floor support. What the hell does Born of the Gamble have? I mean, you're probably... I mean, it's awful. It's just terrible. I just think it's funny how, in my opinion, this turned out to be the best set in the block. Theros turned out to be average. And Born of the Gamble turned out to be just... In my opinion, everybody makes fun of Dragon's Maze. But how can people not be angry on Born of the Gamble? I mean, God, that thing is junk. That is the true junk bond. That is like triple C minus, missed a dividend payment. They're on negative credit watch. I'm talking Moody's and Fitch already withdrew their credit rating, and S&P is just about to slash it to the toilet. That's what I feel about that set. And, nobody makes fun of it. Everybody just beats down and slashes up Dragon's Maze. And Dragon's Maze isn't that bad. I mean, you have decent cards in it. They don't have a strong market demand, so the value's not there for box openers or investors or anything. But I like Dragon's Maze. It was a really creative set. It had some decent mechanics. It had some decent mythics between... I even like the Planeswalker, the Ralzeric, and the Voice of Resurgence for different type of... the Super Grizzly Bear, as people called it. And then you had some of the Fuse cards, which were I mean, I'm not a big fan of those, but... I liked the Guild Gates. I liked the Maze's End. I liked some of the Morphlings and the different type of cards in the set. And there were a couple other ones. I think it was like Master of Cruelties and a couple other things. I can't believe... I mean, they're not worth anything. But it was there. What the hell does Born of the Gamble have to offer? Literally nothing. It has nothing to offer. What? A flippin' Captain Kitty Cat? I mean, I don't even know if there's any good commons or uncommons in the set. And, I mean, seriously, look. Even commons and uncommons in Nyx. Look at that. What do I got? You had the flippin' Banishing Light from Nyx, okay? Great uncommon. Great. It sold for like $1 or... It was like a $2 uncommon at release, and the foils were like $6. I always keep the foils, so I can show you these. Then you had... Everybody knows this. Remember the flippin' sheep? I mean, come on. The ram? I mean, this thing drew people crazy. Again, uncommons in Nyx that were decent. Born of the Gamble had nothing to offer. Theros had some decent uncommons, but again, everybody opened the living shit out of Theros. Everybody knew it was going to be good. It wasn't anything to be surprised about. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. It even had the Coinsmith. You guys remember the Coinsmith? It was a good card. And it's just... Yeah, I know the Constellation thing. It just didn't really seem to fit in Nyx. It didn't get traction like everybody thought it would. It definitely didn't spike and move like Wizards thought it would. I don't know if it's just because of the timing. And that's going to bring me to another thing before I jump back to some cards, but the timing of the Theros gamble in the journey. I really think it's like the middle child. I feel like, here's Rudy's life lesson of the day. I feel like this block it gets such a negative, look at them. It gets such a negative feel because of timing. It's one of those things where you didn't do anything wrong, but you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Therefore, you got punched in the face. That's what I feel like with this. You know why? Because again, think about this. What happened back then? What happened? What did we have? You guys know what we had. Coming off the backs of the RTR block with Gatecrash and Dragons. Badass block. If they didn't print the living shit out of it, these things would be $3-4 a box. Too bad they printed the living shit out of it. There's still homeless people sleeping in RTR boxes. So Theros came right after a power level in a set like this with the guild gates. And think about what it came off of with the guilds and everything, and the shocks and the different mechanics and the shamans and the abrupt decay. And there's so many things. And don't get me started on Gatecrash and the uncommons and the charms. And it was ridiculous. And then, of course, the Theros blocks comes and goes. When Theros and the Journey and these sets came out, it was people were flipping excited. When I say they were excited, it was crazy excited. People were flipping the hell out. People were like, oh my god. A Greek god set. Oh my god. People were just bananas about it. And then, of course, everybody turned the page. Guess what came out? Oh yeah. Cons hit, the fetch lands were announced, and guess what? They were announced last minute. I don't know how many people remember, the cons fetch lands, with the way Wizards does their little trickle-down preview, they were not announced immediately on the fetch lands. I remember them being kind of delayed. It wasn't kind of one of those early announced cards. The land cycle, I remember them purposely delaying it. And maybe that was just me or the website I was following or MTG Salvation or my distributor, but I remember last minute, it was like hey, by the way, what's that in the corner over there? They're putting fetch lands. Okay, cool. And then people are like, what the what? And I remember there being like this panic to order more. I very clearly remember that. And that's all. And of course, attention spans of what? One day we all have. So again, a day goes by. And guess what? Nobody remembers the whole middle child, the redheaded stepchild, the set that just came and just... and nobody just remembered it. It was gone. Just like that. Flipping DeLorean, Back to the Future, and then all everybody cared about was cons. And I think, to this day, and for literally the next 5 years, I think it's always going to be suffering because of that. Just because of the strict fact of the timing of the block. The fact it was sandwiched. The shit was literally just smushed. It was just literally nobody remembered. The fact it was sandwiched between something amazing, it just got left behind. Then, of course, Wizards goes, hey, let's print the shit out of it. You ball it all together, and you have something now that when new players talk about it and people talk about the Theros block now, it just became like I don't know, man. It just became like this, I don't want to call it a laughing stock, but just a very negative perceived item that people don't seem to really... I don't even have the word for it. People just don't seem to give a shit about it. That's all I have to say. But you know what? Moving forward, now that we're going into 2017, oh man, that's crazy sounding. Talking about Magic from 94, 95, and Tempest and Weatherlight and Ice Age and Snow-Covered Lands, and they're going into 2017. The fourth printing of a Modern Master Eternal Master set coming in a few months. The fourth time, and I think this is something that's definitely going to be left behind, but I just definitely want to say, in my opinion, a very clear winner has emerged, and I think the very clear winner is definitely Journey into Nyx, hands down. Between that, and I'll refresh some people's memories. Back in you guys remember the temples? They had all these temple cards. You guys remember all these crazy ass things? And then, of course, the invention of what? Mana Confluence. When these things, oh my god, people went bananas for this crap. When we opened 100 boxes, we pulled 4 foil mana confluences. And they were badass cards. And again, nobody talks about it. I mean, hey, they reprinted it as an expedition, the first printing of the lottery cards. But past that, I mean, this is like the magic block of forgotten dreams. You know, nobody remembers it. You know, that's what it is. And I mean, on top of that, you have all kinds of other. I mean, you had more. Remember these, the Temple of Milady? When these things were, oh my god, this was the hottest shit. People were obsessed with it, and now people look at that and go, "Scrying Temple? I don't care about that shit. Who the fuck cares about that? You know, nobody cares about any of it. It just comes and goes. You know, and don't even get. Oh my god." And again, if Constellation had taken off or become a thing, these Eidolon things would have been. They almost became a thing. Almost became a thing. But, you know, these things just... It just didn't happen. It didn't stick. It was like dropping a car on the ground, flooring it, and the tires spun and nothing ever got traction. And as the years continue to go by, I just think that it will be just the forgotten block. I think there's no investment opportunity with Born of the Gamble, Theros. Even though I think Nyx is the clear-cut winner of it, I don't even think Nyx has... I don't see a path for Nyx to go up. I don't see a path there. I see maybe in 5 years, you know, a block like this, or a box going for, what, 90 on eBay still? Maybe in 5 years it goes for like 100 to 150. You know, I mean, maybe, if you're lucky. Most likely in 5 years, I'm thinking like 100, 120 bucks. I mean, you're looking at maybe a couple percent. It's just not there. And unfortunately, I think it was doomed from the beginning. The fact of the timing, because of what it was sandwiched between, it was completely effed through the gate. And looking back, I think we can all see it now. But I just want everyone to know who wasn't playing Magic at the time that when this block came out, and these things were announced in the Greek theme and the devotion theme, it was a really big deal. And it's something that's, again, you know, we don't have the attention spans. It's just something that's not really discussed or talked about anymore. And I really wanted to make a video on it. I want to talk about it. On a side note, just so you know, you would think between the 3 sets, even to today, if you go on an mtgstocks.com and hit, you know, the blocks, set value and everything for booster boxes, you would think Theros would be the highest expected value box if you opened it. And ironically, I think when I checked it yesterday, I wrote this down. When I checked Theros yesterday, it was $38 expected value on like TCG Mid or whatever the hell they use. And of course, Born of the Gamble was like 24 bucks. And guess what? Nyx was flipping like 50 bucks. And I was like, the expected value of a booster box in Nyx is 30 to 40. It's no, actually, I'm sorry, 40% higher than Theros? And to me, I didn't even know that. I had no idea that was the case. You know, and you know, it's surprising, I guess. And again, keep in mind, that's based on any card that's under $1 is not counted as value. And as we all know, if you're a mass box opener, or if you're anybody who does over 100 boxes, the common play sets and the uncommons, I mean, they do sell. They bring in a lot of capital, they do sell, and they do count. So you do have to keep that in mind, because a lot of people kind of throw that out, and they don't really discuss that stuff. But that's all I got. I really wanted to share my opinion. I think it's very fascinating that Nyx became the clear-cut winner, and the fact that nobody talks about it. And, I mean, honestly, it's not that nobody talks about any of this block anymore. It's like a bad memory for people. I feel like people are going to look at this block like it was the flippin' Fallen Empires, the Chronicles, or Dragon's Maze. As the whole block. It's just going to be packaged together in a neat little pile of poop, and that's what people are going to look at this block. And, you know, I don't think it's deserved. I think it was a perfect case of wrong place at the wrong time on when the placement of the block occurred between two really, really strong heavy hitters. So that's all I got. This is Rudy with Alpha Investments. And I think this, you know, Nyx is... The journey was fun. It's now gone. But you know what? It's gone, but it's not forgotten. So you guys have a great day.